Hey everyone, we're so excited to welcome Tami Lacertosa-Plax and Dawn Carey, with the easier of the two names, I might add. Anyway, thanks for coming today to talk about Bleachers.
Thank you for
Okay,
having us. Good morning,
Thank you for
ladies.
I
having us.
know, I know, but this is a setup. I'm here. I mean, I have to tell you, I took a look at the history of Bleachers and I had such a good time because get this, okay. When was the term bleacher first used? Either of you two have any idea?
1800s.
It was oh my God. Did you know that already? Or,
I, I did a little research myself.
there you go. Okay. So the opening seating area in baseball was called the bleaching boards as early as 1877. And get this, why were they called that? Anybody in class wish to
Bleaching
answer?
from the sun.
Yes, they were bleached from the sun, but get this, bleachers, not only were they the things you sat on, but they were also the people who sat on them. So if you went to a baseball game and you were sitting in the bleachers, you were referred to as a bleacher. I think that's sort of cool.
It's the wealthier of the people got to sit in the bleachers.
Wow, that's so funny because now it's the exact opposite, And yeah,
Well,
it's really
we can go back a year further to 1876. James Bailey from the circus actually developed a portable system to transport on his wagon back and forth
well,
to the circus.
you're such a show off. Where did you get that?
Don't
She
worry
did
about
her research.
Did a research. Okay, but here we are now. Can I just say I have to laugh because we're not talking about wagons, but we got major trucks from InProduction bringing in bleachers. Dawn, I mean, those are major semi 12. I mean, the bleachers, when they come into these parks and places that you really have a tremendous amount of business in, those are big trucks, right?
Well, a lot of the times what they do is they're unassembled, so we build them on site.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. Okay. So, all right. So, best movie that had a scene on a bleacher?
Grease? No.
Grease is considered the best. But then there's that one. I forget it's 10 Reasons Why I Hate You or something. Remember when who is the
10
guy who
Things I Hate
sings
About You?
Yeah, 10 Things I Hate About You, and he sings to her and runs up and down the bleachers. Do you remember that?
I know the movie. I can't remember
I
the
don't
scene.
remember.
Okay. Well, at any rate, it's the bleachers take there's a lot of things happening in bleachers. And the big thing in the 50s and 60s, by the way, was you would go under the bleachers to make out. So we
We won't
cannot.
talk about that.
Okay, we can't ignore that. Okay, so both of you have huge specialties in the arena of bleachers. Let's just turn to the next slide if we can. Okay, would you say this is a typical bleacher?
This is our ultimate system. So typical for InProduction, yes. This has custom mithers on it, and to show this one, it's a really interesting build. There's some understand tunnels in there. There's mithered corners, and what I like about it also is we build around obstacles. So if you could see that there's a column set back in the mither, we build right around it and rail it.
Yeah. And what's also cool about it, the thing I love about bleachers, and we're gonna end with this really big Mac Daddy vision of it, is every seat has a view. Like, and Dawn, when you're putting them, you specialize mostly in parks, right?
Right. I provide a lot of the steel bleachers for the Parks Department.
Right. And where each of them are having their own view, it's pretty amazing because when you put seats on a floor, the person in the back doesn't have the view that these people have. Sometimes sitting in a bleacher at the top has a better view than at the bottom.
Correct.
For most sporting facility venues, the top overlooking down onto the field is the better view.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, let's go to the next slide.
Impressive.
I know, right? Okay. Now, are these these were built, this is actually a temporary stadium.
This is a temporary stadium inside a stadium.
Okay, yeah. And you can add to, and a lot of stadiums are bringing you guys in, right?
Absolutely. This happens to be one of our bigger events for our temporary seating. It's Miami open, if I can
Yeah.
say that. There's several different seat styles in there, and on the mid-level we have luxury suites in there as well.
So when you have several different seat styles for the bleachers, does that give the sitter more room?
Yeah, when you're doing a tip-up seat, one of our the tip-up seat that we have is a 20-inch wide seat. Bleachers are an 18-inch in the industry standard, but the tip-up gives you a little bit more space to spread out.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Dawn, when the pandemic hit, you were one of the few people who were actually selling a lot during the pandemics because people were bringing bleachers into parks and stuff to be able
Right.
to have seating that could separate and everything else. Has that continued?
Not so much anymore. People do still distance themselves, but not as much as they did during COVID. But you have that option with bleachers.
Yeah. So which you don't have with the tip ups.
Correct.
So
Individual seats.
yeah, you definitely want to consider the group that you've got coming in, but that's so beautiful, really is. So where's the original? The original's behind the ones inside, right?
Yeah, if you could see the upper level, the top level is the actual stadium, and then levels 1 and 2 are our seats that we bring in and build on site.
Now, how many additional seats does this add? Do you even know?
I'm going to say about a little bit under 8,000.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot of tickets, everybody. That's a lot of new money, So, the cost of it is certainly amortized out. So, okay, next slide. Okay, this is a close-up but here's the thing, like Dawn, those seats are sitting on you could put a bunch of different kinds of seats on that same riser, right?
Correct.
How
Yeah,
does that work? Walk
it's
us
on
through
a
it.
it's on a rail. So it attaches to the deck, and then we have the seats that attach onto the rail. So you can swap up the seats. Those are a 20-inch tip-up seat. So we also have our ultimate plastic seat backs as well that you can swap it out for. So you can really use several different types of seats to clip onto that rail that's on the deck.
If you actually
Right.
see the picture behind me, it's the same system with the plastic tip-up seat she was just referencing.
Yeah. And that's a really cost-effective way to upgrade from a bleacher where bleachered people are sitting in them. So we're going to go to the next slide. Okay, this part is what I think is really cool. First of all, this is a temporary stadium that InProduction actually builds for one of the soccer leagues uses a lot of InProduction temporary stadiums. But here's the thing, with everybody getting behind sponsorships of experiences and events and everything else, the seating is now being used more and more to actually put forth both logos, messages, everything
Branding.
else. Yeah, because the people attending want to have the additional options that way. The sponsors, when someone's walking into this stadium and they see that, it's, Phoenix Rising, so there you go. So on any bleacher seats, you can arrange the seats for that, and you can put whatever messaging you want, which I think is a huge value added that can be done in bleachers. And you can see the rise on it, but it actually really spells it out. It's as good as an airplane overhead, if you ask me.
Yeah.
It looks great in a drone view.
Yeah, it really does. I know. Exactly. Exactly. Please God, let nobody put "Will you marry me, Sandy?" Like I'm so over that kind of messaging. But all right. So on the next slide, we're gonna go to the end. And I wanted to end here on the Hampton Classic. You guys do the bleachers for the Hampton Classic every year. And the thing about this is people pay upwards to $25,000 to be in the VIP tent. And then a lot of those people also buy bleacher seats because they can see the entire action on the ground. I mean, don't you think, what would you each say individually? Dawn, you first. What do you think is the biggest strength of a bleacher system in terms of seating and spectator usage?
You have a view of the entire area, especially when they're elevated. So you can elevate the entire system as well, which gives you more height. So you have a better view of the entire area.
And what about you, Tammy? What do
It's
you
all,
think?
yeah, it's all about guest experience. Uh, Again, the view is the most important thing when the guest is watching the field of play. So in this case, it's a 12-inch rise, so everyone has a better view. When you're looking down, you want to have a greater rise so you can see over the head in front of you. If you're looking straight ahead or up, a lower rise is fine because you're not having to look over the person. So this is an elevated system with a 12-inch rise, and it just gives a spectacular view of everything around.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I have sat both under the VIP tent and up in the bleachers, and I love the bleacher experience at the Hampton Classic. So we wanted to sort of end with that. But
It's
anything
energy
else?
too. It's
Yeah.
the energy
Well,
inside the stands.
yeah, it's really true. Tremendous energy. All right, so I think that wraps it up, but we wanted to present Bleachers as something, it's a consideration for any event now, and more, you guys are bringing bleachers into unexpected places, and that's pretty amazing, you know?
Thank you very much. We had fun.
Yeah,
Thank you.
anything else you guys want to wrap up with?
Won't go too much into it, but we are in the process of developing a new product, so just wait and see. Best of both
Okay.
worlds.
Wait, can you give us any more than that?
Well, we've blended quite a bit of companies to make InProduction what it is today. So it's a hybrid system that we're developing. So it has a quick build understructure with the beauty of and pristine aluminum finish on top. I'll put it
Well,
there.
great. Well, thank you both. And two big events coming up soon that you guys are up to is Thanksgiving Day Parade, right?
Yes.
And the marathon, the New York City Marathon, right?
Yep. Coming up in the next month.
Yeah, a lot of bleachers
Yeah.
going there. So
Yeah.
thanks, everybody. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you for having us.